people really have no idea the inner workings or what goes on in the background. So it was just a matter of just exploring all options and just seeing what the best place may be for me. All respect to New Japan, all respect to all the places I've been before. I love going over to Japan. I love traveling the world. So it was a matter of just what works best for my schedule and where do I feel most comfortable. And ultimately, that led with me, signing both with New Japan and AEW.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3, back once again with an exclusive interview for the Takedown on Sports Illustrated, the Takedown on SI. And this time we're talking to the newest AEW superstar, the one and only Kevin the Jet Knight. Kevin, so happy to talk to you today. You're somebody I've been wanting to interview for quite some time. Told you before we started recording, been a fan of yours since your LA dojo days. How are you feeling today?
Man, I'm feeling great. I'm a little bit sore still from Sunday, but I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. Blessed.
You're coming off the heels of your AEW pay-per-view debut, like you said, a little bit sore from AEW Dynasty 2025 in Philadelphia, where you were in the pay-per-view opener against Will Ospreay in the Owen Hart Foundation men's quarterfinal matchup, and you guys went out there and put on a spectacular performance. So how did you feel about the match, how it went, and the reaction that you got from that Philadelphia crowd at Dynasty?
Wow, man. I feel obviously I wish I would have came out with the win. To move on and get a chance at that AEW World Championship. But the feeling, the atmosphere, the match, the energy was top tier. I expected nothing less. Whenever I step in the ring, I'm expecting things to go well. I'm expecting things to go my way. So it was nothing for the Jet to pull up and put on a classic. Especially when you're working with the best in the world, it's kind of hard. To flub that. So it felt natural. I felt like I was at home under the bright lights and everything. So I felt great. I felt great going into it. Felt great afterwards. So
And what a couple of weeks you've had. You had that big matchup with Switchblade Jay White on Collision, where he gave you the endorsement, the stamp of approval there, and then to be entered into the Owen Hart Cup due to the injury by Jay White, you were entered in to face Will Ospreay, and coming in to AEW, you were announced as being All Elite after that match with Jay White. So, how was your reaction to just that moment of having that great match with Jay White, and then after that? Immediately after that, Tony Khan announcing that you have officially signed with AEW.
it was like, man, the Jet has arrived. The Jet has touched down. You know what I mean? And I just want to show the people what I'm all about, character wise, in ring wise. And it's amazing that the first two people I get to work with were former New Japan people as well. And as I was coming into New Japan, they were kind of making their way out. So we never really crossed paths. So it's kind of ironic that my first two within the company is against, two former leaders like in the New Japan realm. So it's kind of like full circle moment. So it was a great moment these last couple of days.
So did that help you make the transition into AEW versing two people that you know you will be familiar with despite not being able to go one on one with them during your time in New Japan? But did it make it easier for you to have like two of the tippy top former IWGP World Heavyweight Champions to face in your first two major singles matches in AEW?
It was kind of a measuring stick, you know what I mean? Just seeing where I really am as a performer, as a worker. And I feel like I measured up pretty well. I feel like I stood my own. I didn't feel out of place. When I first met those guys, I was still a young lion. So they knew who I was, but they didn't know what I could really bring to the table. So I feel like now that I'm, fully finding myself in my character and who I am, they really get to see not only my in-ring ability, but just my personality and just what I fully bring to the table. And I feel like I matched up really well. Obviously, didn't come out with the W, but I didn't feel out of place at all working with those two top stars.
And you didn't look out of place at all, as someone who was watching those matchups. And like I said, I've been following you since your days in the LA dojo as a young lion, working in the LA dojo underneath guys like Katsusori Shibata. So how was it kind of being into that system, going into the New Japan dojo, the LA dojo, and then making your transition from that LA dojo over to Japan? How was that kind of your journey starting out there, and even further back training with Buddy Wayne in the West Coast? How is kind of explain your journey to the people watching?
Wow, man, that's about a three-part question. Let me see how I could answer that. So, back in the Buddy Wayne Academy, working with Nick Wayne, back in the day as well, a fellow AEW competitor as well. He taught the fundamentals. The head trainer there, he taught the fundamentals, and that was a big transitional step to getting to the LA dojo because Katsuri Shibata, we teach fundamentals, going over basic things, basic movements. So it was kind of an easier transition going from Buddy Wayne Academy to the LA dojo. And when I got to the LA dojo, I had no experience or knew nothing about New Japan. A few of the people that I trained with at the Buddy Wayne Academy said that they hired athletes. And I was like, okay, I come from a football background, so let me just go ahead and see what it's about. So I had no idea what a young lion was. I had no idea what the dojo lifestyle was like, and I was in for it. You know what I mean? Not to mention it was during the pandemic, so there wasn't too much really to do except train. So getting that tutelage under Katsuri Shibata was such a blessing. Um, he doesn't speak much English, so everything that he taught us was like literally basics, fundamentals. He hammered that in, intensity, using your voice, and that stuff carried me throughout my career, and it over prepared me for my first couple tours in Japan. I think by my second tour in Japan, me and Kushida won the tag team titles. So I feel like, and I was the first out of the LA dojo to win the title. So I feel like not only with my hard work and work ethic, I just feel like Katsuri Shibata really over prepared me for what's to come. And now in my second match in AEW, I'm on the opener on a pay per view against Will, one of the best in the world. So I feel like just being over prepared by my trainers and just coming from my background, um, just really put me in place. And I bide at my time, man. People may think this is an overnight success or this is happening like that, but this has been years in the making of grinding. You know what I mean? Um, Definitely not an easy road.
Nah, definitely not. Being under, such legends like Buddy Wayne, like Katsusori Shibata, and like you mentioned, you were tag team partners with Kushida. And the
Yes, sir.
Intergalactic Jet Setters is one of my
Right.
favorite tag teams in the game. So I'm glad that, you had the opportunity to continue that tag team. You're going to be wrestling at Windy City Riot alongside Kushida, getting a shot at the strong openweight tag team
Yes,
championships.
sir.
But kind of explain how that bond started with you and Kushida to team up together, and all the success you've been able to achieve being IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions on 2 occasions.
I think it started late 2022. Um, Kushida had just got back with New Japan, and he came to the dojo to train with us. And I think he just saw just how I moved and just my spirit and everything, and he just picked me. It was like, yeah, I want him. I want him to be my partner. Is there anything that we can do, whether we're working with each other, working against each other? And it just so happened the Super Junior Tag League was right around the corner. So boom, the beginning of the tour, I was still a young lion. You know what I mean? Still learning up under his tutelage. Still, it was clap only crowds at the time. So I was still getting used to not only being in Japan, but that type of style. And not even to our second tour when we won the belts was when there were full stadiums. I could get the full New Japan experience. So just throughout those tours, Kushida would give me like little tidbits. Don't do this here. Just giving me little nuggets of information. Even and that's when we were doing Impact at the time as well. So all of those reps didn't go to waste. He's such a great mind. He has such a great mind in wrestling, and I'm just so blessed just to have that as a friend, as a partner, and I hope we continue our success. This Thursday, this Friday, in the Windy City Riot, you know, we coming for those tag titles, a strong open weight. So we moving up from the junior heavyweight to the open weight.
And you did mention on social media after you signed with AEW that you still have unfinished business in New Japan Pro
Of
Wrestling. So,
course.
very happy to see you on Windy City Riot, and even more excited that you were a part of the field for the New Japan Pro Wrestling Best of Super Juniors. And what
Yes,
a
sir.
field it is! You're going to be in there with KUSHIDA as well. You got El Desperado, Hiromu Takahashi, some of the stalwarts. You got your fellow Buddy Wayne Academy graduate Nick Wayne from
Yes, sir.
AEW as well. So, what's your opinion on the field for Best of Super Juniors 32, and how does it feel where this is your first time representing AEW in this tournament as well?
Well, actually, I'm gonna say this right here, right now. I'm representing both AEW and New Japan. I'm still contracted with both companies, so there's no fret. The Jet is still here to stay. Um, and don't forget the third Buddy Wayne graduate in Clark Connors. So me and Clark Connors go
Right.
way back as well. So it's a Buddy Wayne New Japan party up in there. Um, so I'm ready just to show my skills and keep this momentum rolling. You know, they say third time's a charm. This is my third Best of Super Juniors, and I feel like I've done the work. I have the experience under my belt, and I know what to prepare for. I know what the schedule is like. I know how to keep my body prepared, and I feel like it's my time to show out and really. And Despy remembers. Despy remembers. I beat him in last year's Best of Super Junior, so he's on his heels whenever he's in the ring with me. Um, so whether it's at Dominion or sometime this summer at the end of the Best of Super Juniors, I still want my title shot.
Yeah, and it's something that you've been chasing after for a while here, and you haven't got that opportunity quite yet. What does like even challenging for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship mean to you?
It means a lot for the history of that belt. You look at who's carried that belt. You look at the Owen Harts, the Despys, the Takahashis, Kushida. You look at the Will Ospreay a few times. You look at the lineage of that belt. It's not too many people. Um, they don't just give it. You don't. Anybody doesn't just earn that belt. You really have to work and earn the trust of the fans, earn the trust of the company, and really prove yourself to be the best Super Junior in the world. Um, and not too many African Americans have challenged for that belt as well. I think only Ricochet and Leo Rush are the only other two. So me being the third, if that possibly happens, that would be a great honor for due to my people, for my culture, and I would love to put on for the rest of the world.
And what does that kind of mean to you, being a African American in the New Japan Pro Wrestling kind of bubble for all these years, and now coming over to AEW as well, and kind of being that representation for fans like me that's watching and seeing someone that looks like them? It means a lot,
Hmm.
especially for the kids that's watching as well, because we've talked
So,
about you've had conversations with like young fans, like in the wrestling club and stuff like that. How much does that mean to you?
man, it's just about setting that example, and showing that you can do whatever you really want to do. Whatever you put your mind to, you really can do it. Whether it's being a pro wrestler in America, I wrestled in CMLL in Mexico, and people that love the Japanese culture, you can come over here and thrive and flourish. You know, I'm not just a guy over here. I came up through the system. I've won belts, and now I'm going to be in contention to possibly go for a singles belt. So it's not um, just a opportunity just thrown away. It's something that I'm looking here to dominate the field and someone to look up to. And that's what I've been calling myself lately, just somebody to model their game after, a jet setter in every sense of the word. You know, there hasn't been an African American IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. So if I become the first, that'll be a historical moment for sure, for sure.
So out of that field that we talked about for the best of Super Juniors 32, you've mentioned, El Desperado, you've gotten a win over before. Who is somebody that you haven't been in the ring with that you would be interested in crossing paths with?
I'm waiting for the blocks to come out. I'm waiting for the blocks to come out, and I'm waiting to test my spirit up against Hiromu Takahashi. You know, he's a multi-time Best of Super Junior winner, a multi-time IWGP champion, as well as Taiji Ishimori. You know, those two I haven't had the chance to really work against. So I really want to test. Those are the kind of the standard of Japanese junior heavyweight wrestling, and I feel like I could test my wits against them, and really just show them how much I've grown. I think I've only been in the ring once with Ishimori in the tag match, and we kind of got in there a little bit, but he really needs to feel me this time around.
So how does it feel? Like you said, you're got two contracts. You're contracted to New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW, and you have that experience going over to Japan, kind of getting that experience on the AEW pay-per-view platform in Philadelphia with that hot crowd. Tell me kind of what's the difference between being in front of a hot crowd in the US to being in a hot crowd like Kurgan Hall in New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Man, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just a culture difference. It's just a culture difference. In America, they react to things differently. It's a different type of tempo. It's a different type of energy, and they can understand what I'm saying. I can understand what they're saying. So it's a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but it's a little bit more familiar, having that connection. Because I grew up watching American pro wrestling, so I know how it looks. You know what I mean? And I know how it comes off, as opposed to a Hurricane Hall in Japan. There's so much focus on the details. They're focused on your technique, how good your body looks. They Japanese fans really pay attention to the details, and they don't make it about them. Meaning, as they don't create chants. They don't chant "This is awesome." They don't chant "New Japan." They don't chant. You know what I mean? So you have to work a little bit harder to get those reactions, but when you do, it's so rewarding. So it's like you got to have that Hurricane Hall brain, and you got to have that Philadelphia American brain. It's like knowing what works. So it's a very interesting way to go about working.
And how is it kind of like to be out there for like a long tour and have to go outside of the wrestling world, outside of the arenas, and communicate, get your food, do your training and stuff like that? How is it being an American and being out in Japan?
Obviously, you can't just speak how you want to speak and people understand you, whether it's slang or speaking fluent English. But man, people underestimate the power of body language. People underestimate the power of sounds. You can just point somewhere and be like, oh, that, yes, that, please, thank you. Please and thank you go a long way over there. And pointing and making certain facial expressions, it goes a long way. So I've learned my first couple tours, it was kind of rough, adjusting to that. But the more that I experienced it firsthand, I was like, oh, okay, I see what the key words are. I see what I need to know to be able to get around. And the subway system is very, very helpful. It's numerical, so it's very easy to learn. So the more you go over there, the easier it is.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But when earlier this year, you were in like a lot of headlines, a lot of reports talking about where you were going to go. There was numerous reports about you had interest from your AEWs, you had interest for New Japan to bring you back. You had appearances, like you said before, in like TNA wrestling and MLW. There was reports of you having interest from WWE. Kind of, what
Mhm.
was your reaction to seeing your name in all those different headlines, and what was the difference maker in making your decision to sign with AEW?
Wow, man, another multi-parted question. Let me think. I think that my main answer to that is that I like to keep the people guessing. I like to see people scrambling and see where their mind goes just from their speculation. And the main thing is I don't even say much publicly. So I like to see people's reactions to nothing almost. So it's like people really have no idea the inner workings or what goes on in the background. So it was just a matter of just exploring all options and just seeing what the best place may be for me. All respect to New Japan, all respect to all the places I've been before. I love going over to Japan. I love traveling the world. So it was a matter of just what works best for my schedule and where do I feel most comfortable. And ultimately, that led with me, signing both with New Japan and AEW. So it's definitely been, it was definitely a different process because I've never gone through something like that. But it was honestly interesting to see just how people react just off of speculation. So it's cool what people say just without having any information.
Yeah, it really is a crazy thing, and you see it over in New Japan currently. I loved
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb's response to, "I thought I was leaving. I thought I was
Yeah.
leaving. What happened, internet?" So that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, what was your reaction to kind of seeing your name be in the
Yeah.
buzz and be in the reports like that?
Yeah, it's funny seeing just how people react just off of speculation. I'm sorry, it's my cat going crazy right there.
No, what? I love a cat running. No, don't get me don't get me started with that. But,
No
so
problem, no
being
problem.
with that, you're now contracted with AEW, and you've had experience, performing on AEW and Ring of Honor. Similar to my question about who you wanted to be in there, before the blocks are announced for Best of Super Juniors over in AEW. You've clashed with Jay White and Will Ospreay already. Who are some of the names that you want to step in the ring with and test your mettle against?
I feel like the way AEW works, I'm gonna be able to test my strength against everybody at some point. So I feel like being able, my first two being up against two of the best in the world, in my opinion. Jay White got the mental aspect and Osprey got the physical spectacle. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've maxed out um, uh, the competition in those two aspects. So I'm ready for whoever, whenever, whether it be on Ring of Honor, or Collision, or Dynamite. The roster is so deep. You can have a great match any day of the week. So, whenever I see the match card, the Jet gonna be ready. So it's no pressure.
And what do you think about so much like representation of guys who got their start in New Japan Pro Wrestling across AEW and the LA Dojo as well, with how much representatives across wrestling from the LA Dojo? You got guys like Eddie Thorpe in WWE. You got Clark Connors, like you said before, over in New
Mhm.
Japan doing his thing. So how does it feel to kind of be a part of that part of your journey, that you have so many people from the New Japan Dojo and LA Dojo across wrestling right now?
I think we all came in to the company just in a weird time period. Obviously, there was a pandemic and the whole world shut down. So for literally about 2 years, there wasn't much that we could really do. Japan wasn't really accepting people over there, and even if they did, they had half capacity shows. And all we had in New Japan at the time was the empty tapings that we did, with New Japan Strong when it was first starting out. So we're honestly just hungry. We're all taking this opportunity full throttle. And that's why you see Gabe Kidd doing this thing. That's why you see Eddie Thorpe on his first few PLEs. Clark Connors just challenged for the belt against Despy. We're all, shout outs to Alex Coughlin. He went out in a blaze of glory. So we're all just hungry for opportunity because we felt like for about 2 years we had that snatched away from us. We were sitting in Los Angeles, just not really being able to live up to our full potential. So now we're just letting it all out, letting it all hang out, letting everything hit the wall, and just seeing how the world reacts. And it's been a crazy ride to witness. Just seeing where we all started out and see where we all are now.
Thank you, man. It's been a great chat talking to you. So I just have one final question for you, and this is more for the people that's watching this interview. What should they expect from Kevin the Jet Knight for the rest of 2025, whether it be in New Japan Pro Wrestling or All Elite Wrestling?
That is a great question. I like to keep my plans under wraps. I don't
All
like
right.
people knowing what I got planned next. Like I said before, I like to see people scramble. I like to see people confused and everything. So just always expect the unexpected from the Jet. And whenever you see the Jet pop up on the screen, just know you will be entertained. And I'll just leave it right at that.
Love that answer. Thank you so much, Kevin. This has been a great chat. Love talking to you and learning more about your journey in pro wrestling. Please let everybody know who's watching, where they can find you, and where they can see you across New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW.
Yes, sir. You can follow me on the Twitters, the Instagrams at Jet2Fly with two Y's. And we have Windy City Riot coming up this Friday in Chicago. We got Collision coming up tomorrow. That's in Baltimore. Or not Collision, Dynamite coming up tomorrow in Baltimore, Maryland. And I think we have Springfield, Massachusetts in Collision this weekend. So TNT, TBS, and New Japan World, that's where you can catch the Jet. Um, you know, don't miss out. Don't miss out.
Indeed. Follow this young man right here. He's doing big things and he's one to watch in AEW and NJPW. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. This has been the Takedown on SI Sports Illustrated. Thank you. That has been Kevin the Jet Knight. I am SP3 signing off until next time.
Yes, sir.